Here we are, another episode, another installment of Grounded with Dilly Dave. Good to see, good to be. Today we're hanging out with KibbZ, aka the Fat
Yo, yo.
Man. Thanks for joining us today to get grounded. How we doing down in Bendigo, my dude?
Yeah, we're doing good, man. Thanks for having me, man. Happy to be here. It's a nice sunny day, so I'm enjoying it.
Here we go, sunny day, but we're locked in our dank bedrooms or rooms. I
Pretty
guess
much. Yep.
that's what it is. Oh, before we get into it, I feel like it's always a good way to get grounded by acknowledging the sacred ground that we are on. So I just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, not owners, custodians. The where we're recording right now, so more like Boomerang and Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to acknowledge the elders, past, present, emerging, and also just acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. These are stolen lands, but it's good to be grateful for the lands that we can record, stream, and do our thing on, isn't it, Jai?
Yeah, man, that's what's up. Yeah, well, I'd like to shout out the Jar Jar Rung people. That's where I am currently residing on.
Perfect.
And yeah, so yeah, big shout out to that. It's like always love to acknowledge the community here. We've got actually a pretty strong community, which is good. So it's good to be able to create and participate on that stuff. Yeah.
Brilliant. Close to the source. I feel like that's always a good feeling when you can tie what you're doing to, I guess, more of like a cultural, historical background.
Yeah,
It,
yeah, for
it
sure.
nests it in some meaning.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely.
So, Jai, I came across you in the past couple months. As you probably know, I like to have my eyes on the scene, and the scene is vast, and the scene is rich, and there's much in it. And I'm not sure how it works. Maybe it was a connection through somebody like Rooker or Sneakerheads, whatever happened in the Instagram algorithm that connected us
Yeah.
together. I'm thankful for it, man, because I'm guessing you've been doing this for a while. I've kind of gone back into your Instagram feed and kind of seen that you started uploading in like 2013, 2014. So yeah, it's cool that you've come up on the blip. I feel like, I guess my opening kind of prompt or question to you is, are you a boom bap purist, or what kind of stuff do you mess with and make? What are we talking, man? And I know that you're a rapper as well, but
Yeah.
let's talk about some produce.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, like, man, I'm definitely a purist, but I got love for all styles, dude. Like, there's good stuff to find in every corner of music. But as far as it goes that I make, man, it's definitely that like East Coast '92, or really like '89 to '96 sort of sound. That's the golden era for me, so I'll stick to that for sure.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, for you, does that involve making sure that like the equipment that you use and what you're sampling is continuously paying homage to that, or are you often looking for opportunities to bring new flavors in? What's kind of your approach with that?
That's a good question. So like my brains of my operation is FL Studio, so I
Uh
do
huh.
use a modern sort of creation, but I also work with the MPC 2000. So
Still
that's like
rocking
the
it? Yeah,
classic.
yeah.
Yeah, man. So like like connected that with MIDI and stuff, and I still sample vinyl, and like I have a predominantly analog setup besides a computer brain.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so when creating, man, it's definitely like I try and follow the steps of like the legends before us and sort of how they created the like the blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
But there's
Mm-hmm.
also like there is a lot of new things that improved on that, I feel, so I like to incorporate them as much as possible. We're still keeping like myself grounded in the original sort of essence of it all.
Right. Cool. So, how did you enter the scene? I guess like obviously there was some music listening to an interest there before, but like, what happened for you to go out and get your first bit of like gear or equipment or start on that path?
Well, I started as a rapper first because I think like one thing that's sort of it's almost a mantra for myself is like it doesn't you don't need anything to be a rapper. You don't even need
Hmm.
a pen or a pencil or a sheet of
Hmm.
paper. You can start in your head and it doesn't cost anything. Um,
Powerful.
so I started from there and it was like that was great for the start, but I've found myself more and more sort of leaning towards a certain style that I couldn't find just on YouTube Beats and I didn't know any other producers.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, so I was very fortunate to meet someone just by pure chance that had a copy of FL Studio, like a cracked copy of
Of
all things
course.
too.
Wouldn't have it any other
Um,
way.
Of course not, man. Like, cause I started making beats at 15. I didn't have
Mm.
the money laying around for no software.
Uh-uh.
So yeah, I got a cracked version of FL on a busted up school laptop and just started
Mm-hmm.
chopping away at beats that way. Pretty much, yeah.
Cool. So you started making for yourself. You're like, okay, I'm figuring out my rap and my flow and stuff, and now I want to make the music for that. Was that kind of how?
Yeah, so it was. It really came down to a necessity of needing beats.
Mm.
I was just finding like I think I was sick of seeing YouTube beats that had like millions of views and stuff, and I sort of felt like it was a bit cheap to just go and use those beats.
Mm.
And I was really sort of stubborn and trying to differentiate myself from everyone else.
That's cool.
And wanted, yeah.
Sorry, why do you think you're so stubborn in that regard? Is it because you just take it so fucking seriously and you don't want to be like associated with anything, but yourself then, or what was happening?
I think that's definitely something to do with it. But I just because it's at the core of it all, I'm just a nerd for hip hop, and I just
Mm-hmm.
love it with all my being. And to
Mm.
feel like it almost felt like I was cheating on it by going to do like just do a random YouTube page and stealing a beat or something like that. It was like I know like
Mm-hmm.
that producer's worked super hard in getting that beat to that product. And for me to just go take it, it just it felt like I had a gourmet like meal at home, but I was still going to eat Macca's or something like that. It
Right.
just
Oh, you didn't
didn't
pay
feel
for
right.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it just, I think that's what started. Plus, it also trying to find something specific for myself because I'm so pedantic with my sound. You can never find something that wasn't made for you to fit what you're trying to really do.
Right, right. People are
Mm.
in like people are in the same kind of like scope or sphere, but it's not like right where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Hmm. All right. So when did you first like hit the stage, kind of like enter the scene? Like what ages and where? Like how did you get your first couple tracks on stage?
So my first time performing in front of a crowd, I think I was 14.
Oh man,
So,
such a good
yeah,
start, dude. You must be so
I was
thankful that you
so
started
young.
so early.
Oh, absolutely, man. It's given me like a bit of a sort of heads up on some people my age that have only been doing it a couple of years now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was 14, and in Bendigo, there's not a lot of hip hop. Like, well, there is now, thankfully, but when I was that age, I just couldn't find it, didn't have access to it.
Right.
And I heard about this workshop by this artist named Defron he was running.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure it's part of like this government sort of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
word got to me because like I was the dude that was known to do some hip hop stuff, and it all came together. I went and did a few workshops. We worked on this group track with like me and three other kids, and that was our chance to perform at my local train station. Um,
Cool.
yeah, so that was my first show. But unfortunately, none of the kids rocked up on the day. It was just me and Defron
Oh.
and another dude named Young Philly. Shout out to those
Oh,
dudes,
shout
man.
outs to
Yeah,
Young
yeah,
Philly. Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
amazing. So Young Philly was part
yeah,
of that program that you guys were working on, or he was growing
yeah.
up with you guys?
No, he was part of the program. So
Yeah.
him and Defron were the facilitators for the workshop. I think that ran for about 6 weeks. I think.
Is this
And
2013 or something? Around 2012, 2013 or?
yeah, yeah, about that. So I was about 14 or 15 at the time, so it would have been around 2013,
Yeah.
2014. Yeah,
Cool. I think that's one of the
yeah,
first times I met Young Philly.
yeah.
Um, I was studying audiovisual technology, like a diploma at RMIT, and he knew Gabs, Rudy V. I'm not sure if you know Rudy V by
No,
chance.
I'm not
Anyway,
familiar.
so he does some community work in the same kind of
Yeah,
world
wicked.
as well. But young Philly came in for one of our assignments because we had to run like this live TV production of 5 minutes. So him and he brought this other guy, which could have been Defron
Yeah,
potentially. I'm
possibly.
not sure. But brought them in so they could do like this kind of live cipher thing, and we're in like this TV studio cutting between the cameras. So yeah, that was my first introduction to Young Philly, probably in like 2013.
Yeah, that's wicked, man. They were like they yeah. I don't really have a lot of contact with those guys now, but they
Mm.
like Defron and him taught me how to hold a microphone and stuff. So they were definitely around for
Mm.
that first sort of essence and whatnot. Yep.
Yeah. Kibbs, if you can, do you want to show everyone how to hold a microphone?
If I have a mic on me, let
If you
me
go,
see
yeah,
if I've got a spare one real
let's
quick.
talk it through. Yeah, yeah, Kibbs on the mic, Kibbs on the mic. What, like Kibbs on the mic, Kibbs on the
So
mic.
this is the good old practice mic. Doesn't even have a battery pack in it anymore. Just
Brilliant.
busted and whatnot. But yeah, so how I was taught was like I think everyone's first instinct for a hip hop dude is to like cup it around the very top and make it all muffled and gross sounding.
Yeah.
Um, but I was taught you sort of grip the end of it and you use either your index finger or your thumb or however you want to give yourself some distance between the mic
Mm,
and your face.
the measurement.
Yeah, that's it. So like my sort of go-to is I cup it with my pinky and thumb and sort of like either sort of put it like a mustache or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that's just my standard sort of go-to practice.
Brilliant. Well, now they know if they didn't know, which would have been
Yeah,
funny,
now
but
you know, man. If you know, you know.
that's it. That's it. Cool. So you're out in the scene. So you kind of started through school. What was your first kind of gig that was at like a venue or bar kind of thing?
So that wasn't long after. There's a local venue here in Bendigo, called Music Man, and they had like just random open mics where anyone could get up, do whatever they wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And so at the time, I was working with another guy, who I went to school with. We were going by the Boom Bat Brothers. That was our group name
Hey,
back
there you
then.
go.
Yeah. So
That's a heavy name
um,
to carry.
yeah, man. So like we were just sort of like-minded cats, are real obsessed with the older stuff. But yeah. So he was the same age as me, but like he was super tall. So
Right.
he was like our way into clubs to sort of pretend we were a bit older and sort of
Hey,
so yeah. So I think I was around. I think it might have even been the same year that we did that. I did that train station gig. We sort of pulled up to this open mic. And the
damn.
doorman was like, "How old are you guys?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we're old enough." Like, the guy knows that we're coming in to perform, and we sort of hustled our way in, and we that was our sort of spot for a couple months. We were rocking up there. Eventually, it
Cool.
came out they knew they were underage, but they were like, "Oh, you just don't act up. You just don't try and buy drinks and stuff. You just can keep going as long as you sort of just keep your head leveled and stuff."
Yeah. Cool. So that was interesting. Like it's interesting I think because I'm not sure if everyone values open mics as much as they should. It doesn't matter like what kind of kind of music you're doing, but for you to be like going to the same place and like honing the stuff and even if for like months or weeks it's kind of the same tracks or whatever,
Hmm.
you're building on your stage presence, the craft, being comfortable, the dynamic between you and the other dude. So, did you know that that was just the best way that you guys were going to practice going to this open mic, or is it just like there is nowhere else to do the thing, so we have to do it here?
It was pretty much like a mixture of both. So I was lucky. So the same guy that actually gave me like the cracked version of FL and stuff. He
Hey,
was a bit older than me. It's like 28, I think, around this time. And he was sort of like the gospel for us because he had done some shows in Melbourne and he knew all the same sort of music as me and whatnot.
yeah,
And he said to get better, you just got to get on stage, and that just became the goal. I was like, all right, find a way to get on stage then. And there's no venues doing any hip hop shows at the time. It was all very much metal or pub rock sort of going around. And
mm,
we saw this open mic. It was in the center of town. It was real easy to get to from school and whatnot. So that was just we'll go with that. Let's try it and see how it goes.
cool, nice. I'm bloody glad yeah, I'm glad you guys understood that pretty young. That practice is key, and especially like the live running of things. Like, what better way to simulate running your track for people than like in a room where people aren't there for you, and in
Yeah,
a way you got to kind of like win them over, and maybe you won't, and that's fine, but like that's a way
yeah.
better circumstance than people like they go to your first gig and they know your song and they're there to see you because it may not be as truthful reaction, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely not a realistic expectation, man.
Mm.
And that's the thing. Like we were two young hip hop cats trying to win over elitist metalheads. Sometimes, like we were performing to like 40, 50-year-old dudes
Yes.
that that very much stereotype, like just metalhead. That anything that wasn't metal wasn't music, and like
Right.
rap's not music. You don't sing all that sort of stuff. But no, we had that place rocking. Sometimes we bombed a couple times too, but it's all
Hey,
part of the practice, man. Like.
oath. Yeah, you got a bomb. Yeah, absolutely. To go off, you got a bomb, eh? Tell you that
Yeah, for sure,
much.
man. That's it.
All right, so you were 2/3 of Jake and the Fat Man,
Yep,
and
yep.
I appreciate the fraction, and I know that both yourself and Jake don't have the same fraction on your Instagram pages, and I do think that that's very funny.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
you
yeah.
guys got a
Word.
sense of humor. So when does Jake come into the picture? How do you like what's the time frame between, you doing that, 15, 16, and you and Jake teaming up?
So that was like I met Jake around that same time. So we got
Okay.
like me and my other mate got very active
Yeah.
at that time. But before working together, it was a few years with me and Jake. It was actually I met Jake and he was sort of like he wasn't really doing a lot of music stuff at the time. He just opened up a shop and
Yeah.
he was sort of like sort of taking a back sort of pedal from the music thing and sort of just doing the idea of growing up and getting a real job and all that things.
Ugh, how dare he?
Yeah, yeah, that boring stuff, But
Uh,
yeah. So we linked up, and I got booked for this show. Um, I can't even remember what it was now. It was a few years ago,
yeah.
and after back and forth of like mutual friends between me and Jake, trying to get Jake to do music again, he was sort of just a bit stubborn.
Yeah.
We ended up like, oh, just come check out the show. Come check out Jai. You've never seen him perform before. He's like a younger dude, whatnot.
Yeah.
And I rocked this set, and like we did fairly well. It was probably one of the better shows I'd done at the time. The crowd was packed in for us. We pulled some good numbers. It was good
Hey.
too because it was a Melbourne act, and we kind of wanted to show them like we had something to prove. Like you want to come to
Hey.
Bendigo, this is how we get down and stuff.
True. When you come to the
Um,
outskirts.
yeah, exactly, man. When you come bush, we still know how to do hip hop. But
Fuck yeah.
I rocked this set, and like Jake's a sort of very sort of like quiet cat. He doesn't really get outlandish unless he's like needs to.
Yeah.
But he approached me at the end of the set, and he's like, "Oh, that was a good set, man," and like appreciated it because he was very straightforward. He doesn't sort of like doesn't give you no bullshit and keeps it up front.
Right.
And then he asked me where I got this beat from for one of my songs. I was like, "Oh, I made that beat," and he was like, "Ah, word. I
Hey.
need some beats." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So and we just kind of started from there. I made him a couple beats. He wrote
Mm-hmm.
the songs, and he eventually got on another show, but no one knew his dubs except for me because I was part of the whole process.
Right.
And yeah, we did our first show together, just as I think he was gone by Cyrax at the time actually.
Okay.
So yeah,
And were you kind of like
uh,
in that moment? Were you kind of like DJing just and coming up with the doubles, or were you there rocking it like front and center with him?
nah. So I was on the decks and just
Yeah.
yeah, just hyping him up, sort of doing the background fish thing for him.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, I think we did one or two shows, and then he's like, "Come on, man, we need to get a track together, get you up front. Everyone needs to see what you're doing." And we both had these just sort of loose verses sitting there, and we found a beat and whatnot. I'm like, all right, we need a chorus, we need a chorus. And Jake's like the hook master. He just knows how to write a good chorus.
There you go.
Yeah, he started writing some hooks, and then he like we had this sort of scheme going. It's like the whole like bounce to the back fam or something like that, and it was all the thing. And
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to get these like teams together, and he's like da 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 da. It's Cyrax and KibbZ, nah, it's Jake and the Fatman. And then he sort of looks up to me and he's like,
Yes.
"It's alright if I call you that?" I was
Yeah.
like, "Fuck yeah, man, of course it is. Let's do that. Let's do that." Like, and that's where
Cool.
the name came and stuff. Yeah.
That's great. So, what kind of, how would you describe the kind of shit that you and Jake make?
It's very similar to the stuff that I was making solo, just more refined. It's like yeah, just boom bap stuff.
Yeah.
Like, cause I'm very much I romanticize that East Coast sound, that real like SP 1200 sort of equipment, filtered bass lines, and like real bright bells sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where Jake was sort of coming more from a like Army of the Pharaoh, sort of R.A. the Rugged Man background
Okay.
himself. That
Okay.
was his influences. So we sort of mixed it in the middle with like some like really old school sounding production, with his sort of punchline heavier raps, and mine was that more sort of straightforward rap stuff, and we sort of
Mm.
just let each other melt into one another and developed our styles that way.
Do you feel like, how long do you feel it took before you guys had a really good back and forth rapport and felt really in sync? How long do you think that it took?
That was actually pretty quick.
Okay.
I think that's what made it almost so special, is because we knew that that doesn't really happen that often. We we did a
Mm.
few shows, and we were like, okay, this is sort of feeling right. Like we had both been part of crews separately beforehand,
Right.
and they had done well in their own rights and whatnot.
But you knew what it
So
was like to do it with other people, so you kind of had a bit of a gauge of what it could be.
yeah, and I think it just sort of when we did our stuff though, it just it was like were both in the right pockets. Like it wasn't
Mm.
too much of one of us trying to be the other person's style. We just were very complimentary to one another, and it just sort of
Mm.
it worked out. Like we did this show, and we were sort of like we had a pretty decent sort of community at the time in Bendigo. There was a lot of different styles and stuff like that. Um, we were all sort of trying to exist with one another and like collaborate. And when me and Jake got together, everyone was a little bit sort of confused. Like that was just a weird sort of pairing. Like how did that happen? Because
Mm.
just because we were just sort of different sort of ends of the spectrum with each other.
Right.
We got on stage and we just like without sounding too over, we just killed it. Like
Hey.
we did perfect. Like we stole the night and we were the openers. Like we didn't want to put too much pressure on it and we just rocked it. We had like that track that we worked on together, the one where we wrote that chorus and stuff. It was super catchy. Everyone got in on it, and
Hey.
like the next day we're sort of eating breakfast at this cafe, which is now a ritual we go to after every show, and we like reflect on the night. We were sitting there and like, man, that was something special. We should see what we can do with that. Like,
Yeah. What's the name of that cafe that's special to you guys?
shout out to Bath Lane Cafe. So
There
it's
it
a
is.
cafe we take every performer to after a show. So we've had Brooker and Detectives come do some shows for
Yeah,
us a few
shout
times.
outs.
Shout out to them. They're all like dope homies and stuff. But yeah, we take everyone to that cafe after like the day after a show. Rooker still bangs on about the breakfast he had there, man. Like,
Shit.
yeah.
What do you order? What's good to order there?
Oh man, it's all good. But my go-to when I'm like after a show, I'm drained because it's always a big night because we run the shows as well, so it's normally
Right.
a long night and stuff. But yeah, I go just carb load with some pancakes, man. Just smash down some pancakes and like berries and stuff, and it's a good
Mm.
night and good morning as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Good way to soak up all the booze that hopefully was in the system too.
Yeah, nah, man. I'm pretty pretty straightforward, sober sort of dude most of the
There it
time, man.
is. Cool.
Yeah, no, especially with gigs, man. I can keep my head clear and stuff. It's when running stuff too, because it's a nightmare running shows, managing the money, the door, and the acts. Like,
Right. Yeah, there's no room for error there, and it's you can have a bit of fun, but you can't have too much, you know,
yeah,
boozy
that's
fun.
it.
But I
That's
guess,
it.
look, at the end of the day, uh, if you want to really put up a good performance, you got to be like clear and precise,
Mm.
and to really be in the moment, you can't be too faded. It certainly does compromise, your
Uh-huh.
your best performance, your best potential, right?
That's it, man. 100%. It dulls the senses, and it's like you want to be as sharp as possible on stage, like for sure.
Because it's more enjoyable. Like you get to feel it more, right?
That's it, man. It's like because even in my like day to day life, man, I'm pretty sort of somber, straightforward sort of dude. I
Yeah.
don't smoke, don't drink or nothing like that. I
There you
drink
go.
occasionally, but very
Yeah.
rarely. But man, when it's on stage, the feeling you get that is beating any high I've ever had. So like, and that's almost very corny to say, but it's reality. Like,
Mm-hmm. No, I don't deny it for a second. There's nothing better than that crystal clear energy that you get when you're doing your thing up there, and it's working. It's a real
yeah, man.
deal. Um, let's talk some of the venues and stuff that you've played at, and like some memorable shows. So, if there's any like memorable either shows or venues that like have really planted great memories for you, please let us hear it.
Yeah, word. There's a few, man. So like, the one that always comes to mind is Grumpy's.
Yes,
That was always
fucking
great to
oath.
perform there.
R.I.P.
Yeah, like,
Indeed.
yeah, man. So like, I've been to many shows there, as a fan of acts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Rooker did his EP launch with Frankie
With
there.
Frankie, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
From
he was thankfully put.
Chile to
Yeah,
Oz.
shout out, man. Like that was a wicked project too. Shout out to all them guys.
Hey,
Um,
it's actually poster of them
yeah, word. That's
back there.
wicked. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
I
So
think
yeah,
I got my CD sitting around there too somewhere. Actually, yeah, I've got a
it's a
couple
good
of them
one,
tapes.
man. They
Yeah,
made some
man.
great music videos out of that as well. Fucking creative
Yeah.
bunch, and they were able to, I guess, get a lot done. It was really cool.
Oh, absolutely. Very quickly too. I remember the timeline of talking to Rooker of him starting that to finishing it was super quick and like it was wicked to see and be able to see it live as well.
Mm.
Because Rooker's stage presence, man, it's almost unmatched to any local act I've seen in a long time, man. He knows how to rock a crowd.
It's kind of scary in a way because you feel like I don't know. it's nothing to do with dark energy at all, but it's just like this strong presence, and it's kind
Yeah.
of, it's not quite demonic possession or anything, but it's like it's actually like this mm, it's the kind of confidence and I don't know, he just clicks into this character and you got to take it
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah, man, he's just a Goliath on stage, man.
Yeah, good way to put it.
Tends to about like 10 feet tall, and it just
Yes.
just oozes charisma. He just knows how to work a crowd, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, and like, cause I've got footage of that night, as
Hey.
well, and like I've got footage of us performing, and like it was great and all, but my favorite thing is still being able to watch Rooker and Frankie do that stuff, because they just like that crowd just got like it was all like loose and spread out, but as soon as they got on stage, it's got real tight, and everyone was focused on what those guys were saying, and they just played off each other super, super well.
Oof, it was good. I was there, so I guess that must have been maybe the first time that I would have seen
Yeah,
you and Jake do stuff. That was with Jake, yeah?
yeah, there
Yeah,
was. So
yeah.
that was our first show as Jake and the Fat Man
No
in
shit.
Melbourne. Yeah,
Fucking
so
hey.
that was a big moment, because like we done plenty of shows in Bendigo, but it's like you said, when you got all your friends coming to your shows, it doesn't matter if you tank, they're gonna show you love no matter what.
True.
So that was it's like, all right, well, let's see if we're actually pretty decent or not. So
Hey. Cool.
yeah,
So
man.
yes, that's a memorable one. Yeah, what else? Where else have you been that's you've had a good time performing?
I've been to Hamilton again with Rooker. He
Yeah.
he brought me and a few Bendigo lads along, and that
Yeah.
was weak. I just signed my first autograph and stuff there, so that was pretty
Hey.
crazy. Like, just a bunch of locals having a good night. I'm pretty sure they're all like old friends and stuff for Rooker, and they were just there to support him and do his thing. That was with his old band 3HC.
Yep, yep.
So yeah, so that was wicked. I've also done Mildura as well. This guy, shout out to Epster. He booked us. I sort of just got tagged along into this gig somehow. My an old friend of mine got booked for a show, and he needed someone to fill another set. So I tagged along with him. Caught this bus down to Mildura, like
Yeah.
7 hour bus ride or something like that. Killed this
Worth it.
show in this really cool venue. Met some cool dudes, some lifelong friends and stuff like that, and just had an awesome night. And that was wicked too, because that was like my first solo set in a long time as well. Normally was always had the person supporting me and stuff, but it was good to know that I could still rock some solo stuff as well when I need to. Yeah.
Yeah. Very important to know. Cool. Um, what's been your reflection on, like, your scene and other acts that you've seen out there, and like the vibes and the crowds? Like, what are some things that you like? I guess like and have seen about the scene, and also counter that, like things that you're like, I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, word. Um, to anyone that knows me knows I'm a bit of a jaded old hip hop head. Like
Yeah.
that soul man. Like
Yeah.
I'm very emotional when it comes to my standards in hip hop,
You're
unfortunately. But
attached.
yeah, I am, and probably almost unhealthy. But
Ah.
um, there is some cool stuff in the scene, obviously, man. Like I've worked with a few of them as well. Like I work with Sixpence and stuff like that. Jaden's a
Yes.
really cool dude.
Yeah, just
Um,
shout out to Sixpence. When I had him on the live Twitch stream, we used some of the lockdown beats that you had made, that 30-minute YouTube thing
oh yeah,
clip.
word the Melbourne Minute stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we used some of that to have a bit of freestyle
Yeah.
over. It was fucking
Word.
tasty. But yeah,
Shout
continue.
out to that. Shout out to Melbourne Minute as well. They
Hey,
like thankfully enough chucked me on their streams and stuff. They were doing good stuff. Man, always like show love to them. They help me out.
brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah.
It's
So
wait, it's Emerald, and
yep.
what's the name of the other one? Do we know?
I'm not sure. I sort of like I had contact with
With
Emerald for a
Emerald,
lot.
yeah, cool.
Yep.
I'll shout out to Emerald.
Yeah, no, shout out. So she also played that Rooker show in at Grumpy's as well.
Did she
Yeah.
host it too, or did she just
Nah,
perform?
so she hosted. I believe Morns actually hosted it.
Yeah, right. Cool.
Yeah. I
There you
just
go.
yeah. So yeah. So shout out to all them guys as well. Like
Hey.
obviously, especially like it's cool seeing other angles as well, because they're doing like the media stuff for hip hop as well. So it's always cool to see that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to your original question.
Right.
Um, like there's obviously the people like in the Australia scene that I show love for. Like you've got like your classic dudes like your Credit Cartels, you like 750 Rebels, and all
Yep.
those sort of dudes and stuff like that. I always like they're just like legends and gods in this stuff. So I
Hey.
always shout out them. Um, but like as far as like up and coming or emerging artists and stuff,
But before you jump into that,
yeah,
I guess my question is like, in the scene, not like artists that you like, but like what has like jumped out to you as like these positive aspects
Okay,
of like what
right.
happens in the scene, and then like in contrast to that, what are some of the things where it's like I don't think that this like works well with the culture or the scene.
Right.
Yeah.
Word.
And
Okay,
then
I
we
feel
can
you.
jump to infinite shout outs and putting people on the map.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, definitely. Um, well, because so like we spoke about earlier off stream, my job is running a recording studio for youth and stuff, specifically disengaged youth that have disengaged with a lot of areas in the community and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like the power that hip hop has, and I guess the ability that this country has allowed it to be normalized with mental health and stuff, being able to pair those things together, that's always great to see. Um,
So people being
and
able to use hip hop to like be vulnerable and express themselves and get into their
yeah,
story and share it.
especially in a free space, like in the last 10 or so years, I think that's as society as a whole, mental health has become less taboo, but especially
Mm-hmm.
in the creative areas of like the world, as in music, art, and everything else. Being able to express that has been like super up at the forefront, and like a lot of the kids I work with, they've got some backgrounds where it's difficult to express that because you get a lot of sort of ideas that sharing emotions or having feelings other than I'm the strong independent person I am
Right.
is wrong. So being able
Right.
to have them be vulnerable in a safe space and know that it's directed positively through music, I'll always shout that out, especially like hip hop too. Like so, predominantly of my clients are male, so it's
Mm-hmm.
like I find hip hop is the attachment to them, and then that bridges into other things. They start sort of developing more like even basic things like literacy and numeracy skills, learning how to
Right.
count on beat and write and all that stuff, man.
I
Like,
think that's the great point. Like the uh, being able to equip anybody, but especially young men or adolescent like teen dudes, the ability to be able to communicate properly and like
mhm,
you know give them a way to articulate what they're feeling and being able to share that because it doesn't completely happen at school and it doesn't always completely happen at home and it's hats off to you, man, for being able to being part of that process, along with so many other people who were there being like there are ways that you can reflect on the world that's going to like
mhm.
help you move through it.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's like there's there's so many ways that it can be like taken in the wrong way, like not being able to process emotions and stuff like that. But from my experience, this stuff helps them. But it's not necessarily just about the music.
Mm.
That sort of becomes second nature. It's more so that's a stepping stone to put them in another direction that can help them further. So it's like whether it be like for example, kids that will come through the program might tee this up with another session, maybe a mental health position or anything like that, or
Right.
something, and that's sort of like their reward for going through that.
Becomes a
So
step in the process of them helping
yeah,
and healing themselves.
exactly, and that's very popular in our scene too. There's a lot of organizations that work with that.
Are
So it's
there
not
any
like
worth mentioning, or just like
as as far as I'm like concerned, there's like so I'm aware of like Push. I know they do a lot of workshops
Yep,
and stuff. You got Freezer that run a lot of events.
yep.
And there are a few other ones. I know Emerald and Rooker had a fair bit to do with. I think it's Mad. Maybe I
Okay,
think it might be the. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that.
that's with
So
the 2A, is it? I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah,
I think I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah, cool. No, they're all worth
yeah,
mentioning. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So that's definitely I'm always going to shout that out as a positive. The power that like the music becomes second, and it's what it does for the people that either create or listen to it. That's always super important to mention. I think.
I agree, man. Well
Yeah,
said.
yeah, and like as far as negatives, man, I guess it can be almost said the same thing. It's like there's a few genres and stuff like that. There's subgenres of hip hop that have pushed out some messages, and I don't like to get on that sort of censorship sort of stuff because everyone has the right to express.
Yep, yep, agreed.
But also working with these kids, they'll see something be glorified and not understand that a lot of the time it is either for show or it's not about glorifying, it's about expressing what they've been through, and sometimes I think
Mm.
that gets lost in translation.
Yeah, it's more fictional, and they think that maybe the kids think that, oh, well, this is kind of what most rappers talk about because it is there with the views. But yeah, I guess that I mean that's always been the nature of um music, rock and roll,
It is, man, and
jazz, a bunch
that's
of
why
things. Yeah.
it all has its places too.
Yeah.
Because like by all means, I still get down with like the grimy sort of like '90s rap that glorifies drug dealing and stuff like
Right.
that, man. I'm a
Yeah.
fan of all that stuff, so I don't I don't believe in censorship of that sort of stuff because this
Yeah.
is a necessary part of expressing these things. The same way I wouldn't censor a kid talking about traumas they've been through, even though it's dark and gritty and stuff. It's necessary. Um,
Right.
but I think it's always tricky. So it's like I don't like to speak on other people's actions and whatnot, but watching certain things get said or the way people portray themselves on social media and in tracks and with disses and all that sort of stuff. Sometimes the message of what they're trying to portray, I feel, gets lost in sort of translation, and it seems like that a lot of the time they're not trying to glorify that; they're just expressing what they do see and have experienced, and people
Mm.
think that it's a necessary pathway, not
Right.
necessarily a warning, I guess you could say.
Right. Right. The artist is kind of talking about experience, and maybe so. Yeah, the artist is talking about experience, and the audience thinks it's like oh god, I had it on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, don't even
Almost
worry
like a
about it.
blueprint, I guess, of like what they
Yeah.
think a person should be. And I
Right.
guess again, that's all coming from just what I've experienced and seen, like especially with certain artists glorifying like even drug use and stuff like that, um, because like they're entitled to, man, it's their music and stuff like that. But I guess people
Right.
see it as a like they think that's how everyone needs to act when they get a certain age and stuff, and it's not really
Yeah.
underlying the other issues that that artist is expressing and feeling and whatnot.
Yeah, well said. And I guess, it's the kids who are, I guess, the maybe the most easy to influence through music
Yeah,
and
well,
social media and this kind of
especially
stuff.
yeah, exactly, man. When they see someone they idolize, or even down a peg, when they see someone they respect doing something a certain way,
Right,
they
it could
want
be in
to.
their community, right?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't like yeah, not like social media famous or famous artists. They're not the end all or be all. There's obviously other problems that need to be addressed, as well as that. It's not like if these artists didn't do this, these problems wouldn't exist. They're still going to be in the community in a different way.
Yes. Yeah, I mean that's a great point. Like, the darkness, the temptation, all those, bad behaviors or whatever, they're always going to be out there, I mean, I guess, I don't know if this is right in saying, but maybe the streets will never be clean. And by streets, I mean, the world. Like, it's never going to
Yeah,
be, bleach right, pitch perfect, all
that's it.
these kind of
And I
things.
I I think that would be more sad if it was. I feel like
Yeah,
you need the rough corners of everything to sort of appreciate the picture for what beauty it has. Like
agreed.
and and by all means, it's like there's not a right or wrong way to live a life. Like people
Mm,
experience things differently and enjoy it the way they enjoy it. So I'm not shunning anyone for anything. Like I said, it's just I think my like the point I was sort of saying about that is messages get lost more so than anything, and clarity is important, especially for people that hang on the words that artists say. Man, like when you like, I remember being young, listening to a song and the way someone would say a point of view or an opinion, like you learn that and you sort of it becomes your mantra and your gospel. That's how you sort of like how it shapes how you view the world. Like
right, becomes like
it's
an
and
operating
yeah,
system.
absolutely. It's a new thing to put in the filing system in your brain and how your sort of moral compass is developed and stuff like that and how it
Mm,
starts.
yeah, man, well said. I really appreciate your, I mean, it's not a completely fresh perspective because I think, it's something that many of us hold, but I'm glad that, somebody like yourself is helping kids kind of see things, that way, especially when it comes to the music and being able to
Yeah,
interpret that. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Word. It's yeah, sorry. Yeah, go. Yeah.
no, please, if you had to. I was just,
I was just gonna say, it's like I experienced similar things like that. Having someone show me the way when I was younger, so it's only right that you pass it along. Like the idea of like holding knowledge doesn't make sense. I want to give it to as many people that want to hear it, sort of thing. Yeah.
fuck Earth. I love it. Um, KibbZ, what are you working on at the moment? Like, I imagine that you have kind of never not been making stuff, but what are you kind of working on at the moment, like during this lockdown kind of stuff? What are you up to?
Yeah, so I got a fair bit actually going on. So me and Jake have been working on a project for X amount of years.
Yeah.
So so yeah, so I'm working on that project constantly, continuously. Like we've
How
had
close?
that
How
in the work.
close are we to seeing that?
I
Who
don't know,
knows?
man. It's like
Yeah.
I do have some stuff that is extremely close, but
Right.
it's not the whole project.
Is it
Um,
an
so
album or mixtape or what are we talking?
so it's original beats and like original raps and whatnot, but it's probably better described as a single release with
Yep.
like two tracks, just a small sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I work very closely with a DJ named Doc Felix.
Okay.
He's been around a very long time in the scene and stuff. He's worked with the likes of like Bias B, Brad Strutt, and all these sort of dudes. He runs a
Okay.
label called Little Wonder Productions. And he's, I guess, best way to explain, he's like my mentor. I guess he teaches me a lot of what I know now. So he's guiding me and Jake through that process of creating projects to a sort of higher standard of what like the stuff we listen to, what we want to sort of portray. That's how we hold our standards to. So if it's
Mm.
not as good as a local release that we hold very highly, he's helping us get it to that level.
Right. So he
S-
really helps you set benchmarks and the golden standard for what you guys do.
Absolutely, and like yeah, so he just cuts a lot of corners for us too. It's where it's like if I'm by myself figuring out how to achieve a certain sound, could take me months to do. He sort of just comes in and points like the little back door entry. He's like, if you just did that, it's going to solve a lot of problems. And so, he's like, cause he's an incredible producer as well. Like, I got nothing but love to Doc, so shout out to him.
Hey.
But so we're working closely with him on pretty much the main project, but as well as these two tracks that we plan on releasing. Um, which like we did have planned really at the start of this year to be released, but he lives in Melbourne, so we haven't been able to get down to him and work with him
Mm.
closely. Which has
Rough.
made it extremely hard, but it is what it is. If
Mm.
my biggest problem for COVID is not being able to release music, I think it's a pretty good problem to have. So
Well
I try to
said.
put that in perspective. But yeah, so I've got that on the way to be announced, like release date, hopefully very soon. But the bigger project, I'm still making the beats for. I'm extremely like pedantic with my quality control, so it's unfortunate. There's a big sort of process. I'll start a beat, I'll get it to where I think it's like 90%. I'll send it to Doc, and he's like, okay, cool, get it to the 100%, and then let me get it to my 100%. So
Oh, right.
yeah, so there's a big process with Jake also in the middle of it. He doesn't really make beats or anything, so he sort of just chimes in with his advice and what he wants to sort of experience. But
Right.
we are so constantly working, but something that is closer to release is last year during lockdown I did this sort of spare of the moment idea where I drop a beat every day in October. I
Yeah.
just uploaded a beat every single day,
Yeah.
and like we're getting very close to October, and I've got a fair few beats sitting there. So I might actually, I've been mixing. I've got about 16 beats sort of cracked out and mixed. So I'll probably start dropping tracks from the 1st of October. And
Amazing.
get
Yeah,
them popping.
Sixpence has just dropped in the chat, and he says round two, alluding to the fact that these beats are going
Yeah,
to be beyond freestyle worthy, and other MCs will be very frothing at the bit
yeah.
to hear this shit.
Shout out to Expanse Man, big homie.
Hey.
But yeah, so I'm working on that. And like my homie Jake, he's also like he's a tattooer and stuff by trade, so he's
Right.
incredible with pencil in like the raps and the art. He drew the last artwork for me, and about a week or two ago, I started poking him for some new artwork, and he sent me some work last night that's looking pretty fresh. So
Ooh, that
um,
sounds like you've got all the really all the pieces of the hip
mhm.
hop puzzle, man. If you're able to pull off like the graphic, the image, the sounds, you're connected to the scene, you're engaging with like this mentor kind of thing, both being mentored and being a mentor. Sounds very
Yeah, yeah,
much like a way a Jedi would would live their
yeah,
life.
man. It's a rule of two, man. It's a rule of
That's
two.
it's the
Like,
rule of two,
yeah,
man. Shit.
yeah. Yeah, so like yeah, so we're all in house, man. Like we
Mm,
like me and Jake have like we've we're sort of loners, not in a bad way. We just like
yeah.
we do our thing how we do it because we know how we like to run our operation, and we can be as real as it gets with each other. When one of us aren't sort of meeting the benchmark for our standards, we're like we're able to say no, that's not it. It needs to be fixed, and works well. So yeah, everything's in house, man. The beats, the raps, the artwork. The only
Hey.
thing that I think won't be in house by end of project will be mastering. Like, yeah,
Which makes sense, you kind of want the head that's outside of the core to kind of, I guess, to
hmm
be part of that process. Is that right in saying in
yeah,
a way?
yeah, absolutely, man, 100%, yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, man, you've given me a great backstory and a whole lot of cool offerings for me to help understand you and what's going on your end. I'd love for you to shout out either like an MC or a producer or one and the same to put on my digital map of like putting people on the map. So we'll do that first, and then keep in the back of the mind a track for me to throw on the Spotify playlist.
Sweet. Well, I got to go with the mentor, man. If you're not aware of Doc Felix's work, um, definitely check out some of his stuff, man. He's got some.
DOCFELIX.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Cool.
So he's on Insta, Twitter, all the major socials he's on, man. He's not super active on there, but he's got a lot of releases on Bandcamp through his label, Little Wonder Productions. You'll be able to find that on too if you struggle to find some music linked through Doc Felix.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so yeah, got to give
Cool.
shout out to the big homie like that because he's got some beats, man, like that are just killer. And I know he's working on some cool projects that hopefully again see the light of day. But like I've heard them, I've heard the rappers that he's got on the projects as well, and they're just wicked. So
Shit.
I'll always keep poking him to try and get them out as well.
It's both a shame and a fortune. Everything that is unreleased and uncovered by so many
Yeah,
people. Hey, I mean, it makes you
yeah.
think. Like maybe all of the best stuff is unreleased.
Man, I feel it that way. Like you can even look at modern times with like Kanye's new album. Man, he
Mm,
had that Andre 3000 verse he cut from the project, and that got released, and that's some of the best stuff I've heard in so long. Like,
right.
hmm
Oh yeah. It's actually it kind of it's haunting to think who makes these cuts at the high level.
yeah, yeah, for real. Like it's you got to try and like understand their thought process, but it's almost impossible. Like,
It is. It is tough. It almost seems like they're trying to keep the good stuff from us.
yeah, exactly, man, exactly.
All right, KibbZ, let's throw a track on the playlist. What have you been bopping recently?
What have I've like? Oh, that's a good question. I've been bumping much local stuff, nothing
Mm-hmm.
new at least, but I have been listening to there's this dude named Marlon Craft from New York.
Marlon
Um,
Craft.
yeah, I don't even know what track to suggest. He just dropped a new project that's just fire. Um,
Cool.
so yeah, anything by him, man. Like as far as new releases go, definitely check out him, man. He did this really cool Funk Flex freestyle last year, I think it was, and just bars upon bars and cool word plays and all that stuff, man. So definitely a big fan of him at the minute.
Boom. Beautiful. Well, we've done it, man. Jai, do you feel like we've become more grounded through this experience?
I think so, man. It's been a good experience, dude, for sure. Just to be able to reflect on some stuff I haven't thought about in a few years and whatnot. Like it's
Hey,
been good.
cool. Well, certainly appreciate you joining me today, and also for everyone else who's jumped in on the stream. Um, there's a lot happening this week on this show. So
Yeah, wicked.
next episode is tomorrow with Jason, aka username unknown, who's an up and comer, but somebody who has the maturity and the literacy to really take it places. So he's
Word.
going to be on 4 p.m. Tuesday. Um, Thursday we're going to have a double up. So I think at about 3 o'clock we've got Wrath coming back in. Um, Wrath has he's kind of like one of the main producers out of Vibe Union, but has kind of been doing the stuff for a while. Both producer MC. He's got like a Twitch show on Thursday mornings, which is Breakfast Beats, I believe. So if you're
Wicked.
looking for another Twitch channel, Jai, this could be alright as well. It's a bit
Yeah,
more,
I'm gonna have to get on
yeah, it's a bit more of the newer trap sounds, I think,
it.
as opposed to but we appreciate all of it. And then later on that day is Fungi, the coolest rapper ever, self-proclaimed. We'll see. I've
Yeah,
got
cool.
I've got a bit of confidence in that. But yeah, KibbZ, once again, thanks for joining me today, and look forward to talking to you in the future, my dude. Take it easy.
Yeah, cheers, man. Thanks for having me, bro. I love being on it. Appreciate it. Much love to everyone in the chat, and much love to you, man.
Beautiful. Love your work. Catch ya.
Yeah, peace, homie.
Cheers. Bye.